Today we are pleased again to have a special presentation by Paul Bowles. This time he's chosen the intriguing topic, storytelling, a tale of Carol. His explanation is, narrated by Paul Bowles, a journey through the major arcana of the tarot card deck, a mixture of fantasy and truth of our evolutionary past interspersed with musical episodes to allow philosophical digestion. I like that one. Paul.
Thanks, darling. Hi, everybody. Hold on. What a joy it is, once again. And yeah, I have some philosophical stuff to share with you, but I brought my instruments with me just so that we could have some fun. I have to inject some energy into our morning, so I'll offer you this rhythmical piece. So, sitting down. This is the major arcana of the tarot deck. And here you have the whole story, really, because this is what the presentation is today. It's a story of a journey of the Fool, and it proceeds in this direction here until we finally get to the prize at the end of the quest, which is to inherit the world. And however you might like to conceive of that, Kingdom of God maybe? Who knows? Could be just a job. But that is the prize at the end of the story. So we begin with the Fool. You might not be able to see these very clearly from over the other side there, but I'll be sort of presenting the personality of each card to you anyway. And you can take a look afterwards. It probably would be better not to have questions until the end. But we begin with the Fool, and here we have a carefree spirit type of character, but he appears to be unaware of his circumstances there, standing on the precipice. So we wonder why he's a fool. But he does appear happy, and that's always a good thing. But he's preoccupied. He's a very watery state of consciousness, very dreamy, so lives in the subconscious. And this has to change so that he becomes more aware of the world around him. So he conceives of a change from water to fire. He becomes an apprentice magician. The magician is a man of fire because he operates with the discipline of the will, conscious intent. He pulls power from above and he facilitates it below. So this is his transformation. But he has a quest to undertake, a journey to acquire powers. So he conceives a journey to the Temple of the Mysteries in order to consult the oracle on how he might proceed in his quest. And he does indeed find the Temple of the Mysteries, and attracted in the end by the flowing water cascading from pools into a symphony of droplets below, and accompanied by the siren songs of the attendants to the priestess at the Temple of Mysteries. Attempt to provide you with some atmosphere at the Temple of the Mysteries. So the magician is granted audience to the priestess. She's robed in powder blue. He gazes up at her face, which radiates serenity and childlike beauty. The magician feels his attention drifting into eternity. Your question? The priestess says. The magician pulls himself around and says, "O priestess, mediator between the gods and mortals, I would ask of you a boon. Would you favour me with a seed of knowing, that I might use it on my quest to know where I'm going?" He gazes up at her face and feels his consciousness spiralling into space, disappearing to the light. "It is done," she said. "The seed is within you. Your intuition will inform you. And remember that the subconscious mind has power over matter. Learn to use it. Sleep now and resume your quest in the morning." And in fact, that was the last thing that the magician remembered. When he found himself in the temple grounds in the morning, he picked himself up, looked around him, checked his bag, found that it was freshly supplied with food for the rest of his journey, and he up and he left and travelled across the country, every step creating his destiny. And then he became aware of the beauty of nature impinging on his consciousness. He found himself in a grove, and there in the centre of the grove was enthroned the Empress. She saw him coming. She greeted him and said, "I am the Empress, the Earth Mother. Upon my earth rhythms, countless creatures depend. Insects, fish, birds, animals, mammals, of every size, shape and colour. Every size, shape and colour, every quality, every ability. I have rituals and dances that will attract and mystify you. I have perfumes that will intoxicate you. I have fruits and trees that will delight and astound you, take your breath away. From me you will learn imagination." The magician, enriched by this presentation, thanked the Empress and made his way across a mountain trail, realizing as he proceeded that the land was becoming comparatively more barren. As he continued on his way, he realized 2 guards were closing in on him. They didn't molest him in any way, but they escorted him into the next town, and they showed him into the fortress. And there was the emperor. The emperor addressed the magician. He said, "I am the emperor. I rule my subjects with reason. I weigh, I give due consideration to every argument, and I weigh the grounds of dispute." The magician said, "Sire, I am travelling upon a quest in order to receive the knowledge from the powers in the realm. I give thanks to you for your knowledge." So the emperor gave him his blessings and said, "Take the mountain path." And so the magician took the mountain path, ascending and ascending. And up ahead he saw a robed figure seated on a rock. And as he approached closer, the figure waved for him to sit down by him. He said, "I am the Hierophant. You have just been to see the emperor. The emperor has rules and roles and laws for man, but he does not speak for God. You are a man, but you are an emerging spirit. For your philosophy to be whole, you should realize that the emperor and everything else in this world proceeds from a force of unimaginable power and love. It is the reason why existence is. This force embedded into every atom is the pulse that is to be discovered by every living form. Eternity brought forth time. The boundless gave birth to limit. Being descended into generation, and life is a myriad of ways for the Spirit of God to communicate. And the Hierophant turned and continued up the path. But the magician decided to go in the opposite direction, so he headed down the mountain to the village below. Where there was a babbling throng. The village was a circus. So the magician headed down the mountainside and mingled with the village people. And there he met a woman, and he spent time with her. And in fact, they became lovers. And this union was blessed by an angel. And we know that because this is the image on the card, and the card is actually called the Lovers. So that which was a part has become whole. The magician awoke as if in a dream. He dreamt that his consciousness was a warrior within a chariot, pulled by two beasts, one black and one white. He surmised that the black one was knowledge that he had just received from the Hierophant, and the white one was love he had just received from the woman. And he figured that the riddle of this dream must be a chariot of progress upon his path. So, the magician continues along his way, feeling confident and enthused, and in fact feeling great strength, inner strength and outer strength of body and mind. And he reflected on his journey, how he had received love, spiritual teaching from the Hierophant, reason from the emperor, imagination from the empress, intuition from the priestess, will from the magician, and of course, at the very base, the happiness of the fool. And as he continued along his way, he saw upon a hill a figure holding a lantern aloft. He knew that was his direction. As he got closer, the figure spoke. "I am the hermit," he said. "You have travelled far and learned your lessons well and reflected upon them. But now it is time for you to immerse yourself in the silence of this wisdom. You must enter the hermitage." And so it was. The magician entered the hermitage and absorbed the knowledge of his lessons thus far. So now the magician has done his time at the hermitage, and he opens the door and he sees a world that beckons to him, a world that waits for him to find the success of the material world. It is the wheel of fortune, the wheel of life. Come try your hand. try to win. So, the magician looked at this situation and he thought, win what? Win money, power, fame? When what I really need is love, friendship, simplicity, health, knowledge, freedom. Gain and loss, he said, is a problem. It causes uncertain happiness and despair. How is this to be reconciled? Well, there's a poem by Rudyard Kipling called If. If you can be this, that, and the other, then you can inherit the world. Much like the story we're telling today. Maybe he knew something. But there is a line in this poem which says, if you can make a heap of all your winnings and risk them on a turn of pitch and toss, lose and start again from your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. And I think here is the key, because it denotes detachment. So that could be a way of reconciling gain and loss, if you can do it. So considering this, the magician continues along his way. He thought, this is a world of extremes. Justice here holds in its hand the scales of balance. If it is tipped one way or the other, then your karma is dealt with through the hands of men and laws and rules. And attachment to winning causes conflict, and then justice has to intervene in order to mediate. He says, no one can take away from me what I have learned upon my journey, not even death. So the magician continues along his way. He's ruminating on death, and he realizes that he sees the world upside down from the rest of the world. He sees that material gain in the common world view appears to be the driving force. But for the magician, the driving force is his spirit. He sees the common world view of life having crawled out of the mud and prevailed. But for the magician, the deity is revealed through the wisdom of its own creation. The magician sees the complexity of life as evidence of creative fire emanating from the innermost reaches of the cosmos. Waves of light consolidating into hierarchy of the creative forces. The formless, the distinctive, the lowest elemental taking form according to conditions. But he can't get the thoughts of death out of his mind as the magician continues along his way. He feels that the common world view of death is the end, blackness, the void, nothingness. Whereas the magician sees death as a gateway for the spirit to go forth and experience its multi-dimensional nature without limitation. As he proceeds along his way, an angelic form materializes before him. Temperance, said the angel, I am balancing your properties. What do you mean? Said the magician. The angel said, I am blending your energies, mixing fire and water, conscious and subconscious, male and female. In this world of extremes, you have to know how to act. You don't want to get lynched, do you? Besides, your next encounter will be with the devil. Magician continues along his way. It's dark, dark night, starting to rain. He's starting to feel cold, anxious. He feels a sense of loss deep in the pit of his stomach, of people in bondage. He feels a fear coming upon him. What is this, he said, this loss of freedom, this leeching of power? What is this demonic energy that sucks like a vortex? Let me out of here, but let me send forth my love into this polluted atmosphere. And the magician continues on his way through the night. By now, thunder is pealing and lightning is flashing. And as it does so, it reveals a tower which attracts the attention of the magician. And as the magician looks at this tower, lightning flashes once more and brings the tower down along with its occupants. The magician thinks, poor devils, but their life force has been contained for too long. Now they are liberated. They can start afresh. And the magician continues along his way into the twilight. And he realizes that there is a star up above him. He looks at it. He looks at it, and he feels this welling up of hope within him. He feels, this must be near the end of my journey. This is a good omen for me. And he continues along his way. And he sees two towers in the distance, and he knows that his path is between them. And as he stops surveying this situation here, he sees dogs that are howling in the moonlight. And he feels that sense of cold anxiety overcoming him once again. He thought, what is this? What is this? My way is before me. I cannot be afraid now. This is just weakness. This is just an illusion. I must not be deceived. I am fortitude. I am the carefree soul of the fool. I am a man on the path of liberation. I must continue. And he does continue. And he's unassailed. And as he passes between the two towers, he feels a flooding of inner light throughout his being. And the day, the new dawn radiates all around the land. He feels an intense happiness overcoming his being. He feels that this transition is like a rebirth into a child of joy and freedom, a magical child. Yes, he thinks to himself, I have come to the end of my quest. The alchemy is perfected. I have transmuted my base nature. But if this has been self-serving as a path, and until it is used to liberate humanity, I cannot be happy. And with that, the trumpet sounded, and an angelic voice proclaimed, in our Son we are well pleased, who has discovered the powers of his soul. And now the world is his. It's his for him to find the best way to liberate humanity from its illusion and density and concern and desperation, to find a light in the darkness and bring heaven down to earth. Spilled a cup of coffee earlier. Yeah. Or something like that. I think I lost there. But anyway, that concludes my presentation. We're on top. We have inherited the world together.
Are you going to entertain any questions now, Paul?
Sure. Yeah, you bet. If anyone has anything to say, I'd be happy.
Just wanted to offer a musical thing here with the devil, which was avoided in medieval music. There's all kinds of rules of how to avoid the Diabolus Musica,
Okay.
which is the three whole steps together.
Oh.
So on your instrument would be basically from the B to the F natural, B to F, which is called a tritone sometimes.
Oh.
But they could never allow this in church music, and they had all kinds of rules on how you could avoid this interval. So if you were going to do some real devil music, you could play,
Yeah.
play those
Right.
notes.
Yeah, well, I have no knowledge of that, but I did choose that particular piece to play with the devil because it had a demonic tone.
Yeah.
I tried to get the sound of Kashmir by Led Zeppelin.
Hey, well, we don't want to raise the devil, hey, so just be careful with
So
what's
just
involved.
to remind everybody, and I don't know whether this sound. I mean, John brought up the subject of devil tones, right? Well, this is the closest that I could get to devil tones. And I repeated that, but I don't know whether everybody considers that devilish, but it's the closest I could get.
But it's been with us a long time. I think that's interesting. Associate.
You'll have to show me how to play those devil's
Okay.
tone later.
Yeah. Well, you have your C. Do you know which one's your C note on that? Oh.
How come you know all this devil
Okay.
stuff?
All right, so here you go. Oh.
Knows a lot about
all right.
music.
Well, okay, we can do it this way. So you have the C here, the B.
It's discordant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
And the interesting thing is that they still use in the United States, they use that interval for the train whistles,
Oh,
Because it's the most discordant interval. Whereas in nice Canada, you have a nice C major chord. CPR comes through there.
Because they run
So it's
people,
not
over. They
jarring
run
at all.
people over and you have to cross you.
Yeah.
They do it
It's a nice chord. yeah.
nicely.
Yeah, it's
You
very,
feel good
very
about it,
soothing,
yeah.
very nice.
I'll have to
Nice
tell
things to
my,
give you the tritone.
Tell my husband
Yeah.
about that, because he worked in trade.
Okay.
Trade, he was an engineer, so.
Ah.
He'll be
Oh, sorry, I didn't
interested.
mean to get
I
off
think
this
he can do it.
wonderful presentation.
Yeah,
Really.
That was excellent, Paul.
Enjoyed
Very
it.
good.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
good.
That's
You
all.
should go on TED Talks.
Where did you come up with the story?
I
I mean, this is, no, I mean, you.
sat there and created it.
Okay, this came from
Yeah.
yourself. You
Yeah.
did not, you didn't come from any publication.
No, not at all, no, I made that from scratch. All that I utilised were the associations with the cards,
Mhm.
Like I said, the magician operates from a sense of will, and then intuition and imagination and reason, spiritual teaching, love, chariot of progress, strength. The hermit, everybody has to sort of close down at some point, and just, live in the silence. Then the wheel of fortune, you have the distractions of the glamorous world, the world of glamour. And if you're on the path, that's a distraction, And then you have justice. Sense of justice is always sort of necessary as part of the integral psychology of man on the path. And then the hanged man, it's sort of a truth to see that, when you live from a realization of the existence of spirit, then it's sort of an opposite worldview from what's common. And then death, of course, everybody has their own opinions about that. And temperance, we all have to be sort of temperate in one way or another, with, balance, balance. And then there's the devil, however anyone sees that, I always see it as kind of a blockage on the path. And
Dark Night of the Soul.
Dark Night of the Soul, yeah, right. So, and anyway, and then the lightning struck tower. I've been struck a few times this month, with sickness and strained back from moving a huge boulder, and then on Wednesday I wrecked my throat, knowing full well that I had to speak today, and I even cancelled, and I emailed Anne to update her on, but I hoped that it would heal in time, but I had no idea. It went on Wednesday when I couldn't speak or I couldn't swallow without pain. I had no idea how long it would take. So I'd been hit with a lightning-struck tower, you know. That's the way of seeing that. And then the Star of Hope, there always has to be hope in life, however one sees that. But then there's the Moon. That card there relates to deception and illusions, which of course there are in life, and find your own examples of that. The Sun is that feeling of happiness and co-joinedness with the universe. Power, personal power. And then the Judgment here. Judgment, well, you know, we don't really like the word judgment very much, but you know, we all have to come up, I mean, especially artists anyway, they sort of come up with these ideas, and someone's going to make a judgment on them one way or another. They have to be either accepted or rejected anyway, at the very least. So you get a judgment, and like the magician got a judgment on his final appreciation of his quest, when he knew that he had to use it for the betterment of others. He couldn't just be selfish with his powers. So judgment comes in there, and then the world is the inheritance at the end. However way you would see that.
I never thought of that as a way to tell a story, but I can see that anybody that would, depending who's speaking and what those archetypes represent for the speaker at hand, people would come up with a different story, an interesting story that would really, really differ.
Yeah.
They think the moon, the star, like the hang one, the reverse one, all that. What a good idea. And I'd be so curious if we have plenty of time to send people to the board and see what their story is, starting with you.